again. So, Bob, can we hear your voice? Not yet, but we'll assume
Bob, you're on mute.
he might have stepped away for a minute. Well, Tom, you'll record him when you have a chance to, okay?
Sure.
As being in attendance. Okay. So the next item is to review the feedback that we got from our yes.
Shall we move
Oh
and
yeah,
second and vote for all of those formalities?
Yeah.
For the minutes. Okay.
So who would make a motion to approve these minutes from June?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and any seconds?
Second.
Good. So let's vote. I'll just call where I see your name. So Charlene Galinsky.
Yes.
Jennifer Wallace, aye. Tom Seifert.
Aye, thanks.
Joe Salvador.
Aye.
Jim Moore.
Aye.
Eric Stoker.
Aye.
And Bob Douglas.
Aye.
Okay, hi and aye. Aye.
It's Stalker, by the way, not
Oh,
Stoker.
Stalker, I know. I
That's
always
all right.
do that. Thank
Everyone
you.
screws it up. Don't worry about it. I don't know why, frankly, but that's the
I'll
way
worry about it though. I think I might lose sleep over it tonight.
Oh no, don't do that.
Okay, so moving on. I sent out the comments from our 4 groups that we shared our comments with. The comments from the highway department came right afterwards. I couldn't believe that he sent it to me exactly 2.5 minutes after I sent them to you. But has anyone had a chance to look at those?
I would confess that I have not.
Well, that's okay. Well, what I thought a good way of going through it would be if you guys are all in agreement with it so that we are efficient in moving through it, is anyone who's read them will allow some time for just general comments on the comments as a whole. And then I'd like to move through. There's about 10 points that I think should be and could be, and I have a strategy for including them in the written document. As we said, the whole set of comments will be included as what will now be attachment 10 as part of the report. But I think there's things in the report from the different, we'll call them agencies from now, that should be addressed in the content of the report itself. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to move through those, and just take a vote one at a time so that we make sure everyone's on board with any changes or additions or deletions that we make. Any feedback on that approach, or anyone think we ought to do it differently?
Sounds good.
That sounds great. I think you probably have had the most in-depth look at each of these, and so I support that as a way to spread the word and help the rest of us digest that.
Okay, and Charlene, are you cool with that? Because you had an active role in liaisoning with the association.
I'm just hoping, I guess, only because I know the most about the Lake Wyola report, that gets into the initial report that gets shown to the, presented to the select board, not as, as a separate, I know it'll be attached as an addendum at the end, but the points on there, I'd love to see them in your initial report that you're doing. That's my own personal bias for the Lake Wyola.
Okay, well, let's go through this then one at a time, and you'll see a strategy that I think, I imagine that it can work for what I know about, the association's comments, and we'll talk about them and see if if everyone's in agreement with that as being a good way to go.
Okay, thank you.
All right, okay. All right, so that being said, the first thing that I'd like to, and maybe this should actually be preserved for the end, is all of the comments now from LWAC, Lake Wyola Association, Concom, and the Highway Department. have been assembled into one document. And I'm proposing that we include that as attachment 10. Currently, there were 9 attachments, but I would like to vote on your approval to include that set of comments. No editing involved or anything like that. No comments on the comments in that document as attachment 10. Bob?
Yeah, so if I'm correct, that set of comments would just be like an appendix to the report.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to convey the information, so I support that.
And there'll be some places you'll see when we start going through the points one by one in the report where we can insert comments, refer to comments, and make sure that those documents are cross-referenced. Okay, so,
This point, can we just do that at the end? Let's just go through the points
yep,
and see how
Okay.
what gets included, and then we'll discuss
yep,
putting
that's
them
fine.
all on as an appendix, the submitted bits as the appendix.
Yeah, that's good. I agree with that too. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my screen sharing here. I have a lot of documents to pull up one at a time. All right, we're going to start with Concoms. No, first I'll pull this up. Sorry, I have to go through and find them all.
Bees, your phone rang.
Okay, so this is the draft of the findings and recommendations. These colors are really for my purposes, so you might not need to pay too much attention to those until I point them out. I wanted to try to distinguish using colors between suggestions that were made by each of the 4 groups. So it just helps me to walk through it. So the Concom comments that I thought were relevant to pull out of the attachment, what I'm going to propose as attachment 10, are these that are in yellow. First of all, I hope you read their comments. Beth Wilson, the head of Concom, wrote a preamble that was very supportive of our work and of the different parties coming together and trying to tackle a really complex problem. If you haven't read the preamble to her comments, I found it very encouraging, and I was very pleased that she noticed and pulled that into the awareness of the select board. So I would like to ask you all to take a look at that. I think you'll be proud. Okay, so Concom suggested 2 things that I think could make their way into our draft. So this is the section called Task Force Recommendations.
Mhm.
And they pointed out that in the section about the operation and management plan, that we should add something that indicates that anything that's proposed in that plan would have to meet all the permitting requirements that Concom has for wetlands protection. So I was going to suggest that we would add this sentence. Right now it's in all caps, but it would say, such a plan would be developed with input from the Highway Department, Lake Wyola Association, LWAC, and Concom, the Planning Board, and Community Preservation Committee, and would follow all permitting requirements. And then refer them to those specific comments in what I'm calling attachment 10. So how does that strike you as an addition?
I think it's good.
Perfect.
Could we just say something about all Concom permitting requirements?
Okay, yeah, that's good.
And-
That's clear.
Keep a flow going there.
Yep. That sounds good. So because I want to be clear on this and make sure that we're all on board, I'd like to vote on each of these. There's only going to be about 10 altogether. And I think that will just we'll have that grounding that we're all in agreement, because it gets kind of complex as we move through this. So maybe maybe we could say if anyone has a no, we just get a no vote or something. But Bob, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. We accept the language on number 4 as redrafted.
Okay,
Okay.
any seconds on that?
Second,
Okay, anyone in disagreement with that?
I just wanted to add to what Jim just said about the Concom permitting. I would actually suggest leaving out Concom because there could be permitting issues with planning board theoretically. And so if we just put it permitting requirements, it could refer to both of them perhaps.
Hmm. What do you think of that, Jim?
I just thought it left it up to every agency's permitting requirements. So I was trying to just close down and name which permitting requirements would need to be addressed.
Would it be clear to say relevant permitting requirements? That includes any agency that might have jurisdiction?
Sure.
How's that for you, Tom?
sure.
Sure, I just didn't want to like exclude anyone accidentally. And I'm gonna throw another fly in the ointment and it could be completely irrelevant, so I just like to ask it. I know that beach water gets tested for Board of Health purposes. And I'm only thinking of it now, and I very much apologize that I never brought up the Board of Health before. I am just wondering, because they are also another permit granting authority in town. And we have, I thought, mentioned things like wells or septic in some of our discussions over the year that we've been meeting. Don't know if we should ever like maybe run this by them at all. And I'm sorry to bring that up now. It only occurred to me now today.
Well, I don't think we have to run it by them because this is a report to the select board. And if we get the feedback that Board of Health isn't, involved, then, we're going to be at this work for a little while. But I could say, as well as community preservation and the Board of Health, as appropriate.
That would be awesome.
Okay.
I think just to capture as much as possible.
Yeah. Okay, so now we better have the motion to vote on it again in a second, right? Anyone?
Okay, yeah, I thought we were just in the discussion phase of the motion, but sure.
I don't know how it goes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the recently revised number 4.
Okay, any seconds?
Second,
Good. So, Tom, can we have just like hear from the nose? Or do we go through each individual
I think
name?
it's safer just for everyone to say aye or nay.
All right, so Wallace says aye.
Go ahead.
Jim,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Charlene,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Eric.
aye,
And
Joe.
Joe, aye.
Okay, good. All right, so here is a second Concom. These, as I said, their recommendations are in yellow. So this refers to the short-term maintenance projects. And Beth observed some recommendations in those maintenance. That's attachment 9. It says here attachment 9. We'll need discussions and permitting with the commission. The commission is happy to meet with DPW at these locations to brainstorm stormwater improvements. This was Beth's language, and this is where I refer to the specific comments in attachment 10. So should we get a motion and then have discussion? What's the best way to go about this?
I can tell you what I would change. if you want.
Before we get a motion to vote on it, or in other words,
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I would just make sure to put Conservation Commission the first time it says commission there.
oh, okay.
And I would change DPW to Highway Department.
Okay. All right, so let's have a motion to vote on this one.
Can I have just a question?
Yes,
I'm just going over this. Are there any short term that aren't current practice?
yes.
Okay. Then I have no comment.
Okay. Alrighty then, so can we get a motion to approve this change?
So moved.
Okay,
I'd
and
like
any
to second
seconds?
that.
Great. Okay, we'll go through the vote here. I have everyone's face here, so Wallace says aye. Jim,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Charlene.
Just can I ask one question? I just noticed it. Where it says the commission is happy to meet with the highway department at these locations. In the first sentence that isn't in yellow, it mentions the Lake Wyola Association too. So would we be meeting with them?
I think that Beth is referring to projects that are on Locks Pond Road that are only part of the town's purview. But you raise a good point, and there isn't any reason why we say the highway department and or Lake Wyola. Are you happy with that?
Well, I'm just wondering if it's regarding short-term projects that are both the highway department and Lake Wyola, but then the recommendation is just to meet,
Yeah,
commission to meet with the highway department, that's excluding Lake Wyola to know something is.
yeah.
you know,
Oh, I
going-
think that's good. It's a good addition. Okay. So let's have our vote again. Wallace votes aye. Jim,
Aye.
Charlene,
Yes, I.
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
and Joe.
Aye.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to move on to LWAC suggestions now. And they are here in green. I think there's
I
a
love
couple.
the systematicity of all of this.
This is how this is the only way I could kind of wrap my head
Oh.
around it. Okay, so Mark made some comments about this is Mark's comments here, so you could read these first. Fisk Brook has been the largest sort of sediment and contamination. He says this section should include a sentence related to, quote, based on geomorphic study, this report may need to be updated to address issues that the study identified. We should say issues. So I'm saying here, well, in our general conclusion here, it says that stormwater travels across and through lands, and Mark through LWAC is suggesting that we add this sentence on Fisk Brook, which I think is probably a pretty, I mean, definitely it should happen, especially because the geomorphic study is part of our recommendation. So I didn't propose a sentence there. He is saying include a sentence that says, based on the geomorphic study, this report may need to be updated. So it would be something it would look something along the lines like this. Maybe I put that in the wrong place. Take that out. Here we go. So to date, those stormwater travels across and through lands variously owned by the town, the association, and private owners. There's not been a coordinated approach to bring these parties together for assessment, planning, and implementation. And he'd like to say something like, also, based on the geomorphic study of Fisk Brook, this may need to be updated to address issues that the study identifies. What do you think of that?
Just a question again. Is the geomorphic study only of Fisk Brook or of the whole?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
the geomorphic hydrologic study is of the Fisk Brook North Cove system.
I had been under the impression that the geomorphic study was part of the whole following the hydrological study and applied to the entire, well, originally to Lake Wyola.
I don't think so, but we can look here if you hang on just 1 minute. Because their proposal is part of part of one of the attachments.
Uh-huh.
Okay, there it is. And you might be right. Subcontract field geology services, no, it's Fisk Brook, to include an assessment of Fisk Brook.
I know, but I was thinking prior to their the FERCog report talking about both studies applying to Wyola.
It's been my understanding that the proposal from GZA includes the H&H study for the whole study area and the geomorphic study for the Fisk Brook North Cove area. And that's what this proposal says.
I know that,
Okay.
I agree that's what it says, but I
Yeah.
thought that the original FERCog had the geomorphic for Lake Wyola as well, that it being a different thing.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know whether, I'd have to go really back and look at our notes, and it may be that the FERCog study said to do both. And then remember when we were discussing about splitting off Fisk Brook totally
Mhm.
and just doing the H&H, and Kimberly said she thought that that would be fine and a good way to begin. And then Mark really, through LWAC, really wanted to make sure Fisk Brook didn't get ignored. And so I think the decision to split them apart and have that be a more economically manageable study is how that came about. But I'd really have to go back and
Well,
relook
does
at
that
all
mean
my
that we
notes.
then later ask for a geomorphic study of Lake Wyola?
It might be. I mean, I guess we can find out when hopefully we
Because
get this
I thought
grant.
the geomorphic study was required before the implementation of best practices.
I don't
thought
know
it
that to be
came out
true.
of-
Tom, you have something to say?
Yeah, my take was that the H&H study would study the pattern of water as it hits the ground going towards Lake Wyola, and the fluvial geomorphic study would actually only be for the fluvial nature of Fisk Brook entering into the lake. I didn't think that, because it's fluvial, I didn't think it would be a lake study. I don't think there's a geomorphic study per se for the lake. I understood the FGM as just being looking at the way that the flow of the river changes the land and not the
And
way
the water flow in general. The hydrology would be the water flow in general, and with different modeling for different amounts of rainfall given climate change.
Yeah, I guess essentially I understood the hydrology more as rainfall associated and the FGM more as existing stream studies, like how that stream changes over time and might carve out banks or, move land here or there with itself. But
Right.
just
Well,
That's where I
it's-
think the increased rainfall could lead to fluvial.
true, yeah.
It's described here as, it describes sediment sources and methods for reducing sedimentation from Fisk Brook. I think that at this stage, if we're questioning the scope of work for the GZA proposal, that we need to revisit that as a separate issue.
No, I can see
Because-
that point. I can see how far back we'd have to go to get that done. So let's go with this.
Right, and it may
But-
be that because, there will be a phase 2 to our work, and it could be that we can revisit the scope of work and we might decide we don't need to or want to, but I don't know that we're ready to I don't feel that we're ready to revisit that whole scope of work right now.
No. But can we ask FERCog if their original suggestions match this?
I think they did, as my recollection is that it was our initial strategy to split off the H&H study and save Fisk Brook because of its complexities of different jurisdictions and all of
Mhm.
that. And then when Mark weighed in on the first go round of this, he said, no, I think you really need to get Fisk Brook in there, and we agreed. And that's the way that we came up with doing it.
Okay. again, I apologize because I just had the impression, thought that I read it at some point in the FERCog
Well, you probably
Um,
did.
that,
I think we decided to do it differently at first, and then we backtracked and included Fisk Brook. But Jim, what do you suggest we do now?
that we just be aware of the need for the
Okay,
because the task 6 where it talks about the geofluvial, pointing out erosion, flow diversions, landscape modification, whoops, just disappeared.
oh, you need that. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't know
but-
you were working with that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Just there. It was 6, I think.
Yep.
Management of dirt roads in 6 there. So it's not just in the lake.
So
That,
again,
I'm sorry,
I will
I
ask,
should have
I
been
will
paying
ask,
more attention to this all along, but
yeah, I will ask, what do you think we should do about this right now?
put this as a future task that we get the geofluvial study of the entire lake done, as well as the Fisk. We can go with the Fisk Brook and then add this as a component we need to address in the future. Because I think that this is what you need done to figure out where the interventions.
Well,
make
I don't know,
most sense.
because the H&H study in particular is recommending specific mitigation measures.
Okay.
Identify
I thought
conceptual
that-
mitigation
good.
measures.
I
Yeah.
thought that this would needed, that again, my memory, and it's a while now, is that the morphologic study would also be required to figure out where best practices implementations could be best put. But so, I mean, I would, again, I'm sorry to bring it up at this point, but if we can put in somewhere as a future task, not right now, not part of this, but taking up the issue if we need to, and again, just take it up as an issue that we to study whether we need a geomorphological study of the lake to proceed with implementation of the interventions.
And I think we can ask that question of FERCog. I remember getting clarity from Kimberly that they believed that it was fine to split these apart, that it wouldn't prevent an engineering study from proposing mitigation measures. But
Yeah.
let's ask that of them as a separate question. Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Okay.
May I ask, Jim, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Are you understanding it as one geomorphic study of Fisk Brook and a second or different geomorphic study of the lake?
Whatever we can get funded.
Okay, okay. I didn't think there was a category of geomorphic study of the lake, is all I meant to add. I thought the
No, I thought that's where the issue is. I thought that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was
hydrology
understanding
is the
you.
water flow, it's modeling, and the geomorphology is where the different sediments are located, what's going to get washed away and eroded, what's going to be stable, and
Yeah.
where your interventions make the best sense. So
Yeah.
I thought it was 1, model the flows, 2, figure out where the sediments and the geology are strong enough to, hold up with the implementations of the intervention. So
Mhm.
it's at a different model in my head all along of that. So
I see.
I think one thing
And-
that is important at this stage, I guess, and what distinguished GZA's proposal from, say, comprehensive environmental's proposal, is that comprehensive environmental we're only going to do modeling. They weren't going to really be proposing mitigation measures and preparing sketches and doing that step.
Mhm.
So GZA was very aware of the FERCog report and what it was recommending. And they're prepared here and identify here that they're going to do this and don't require the geomorphic study in order to do it. but it's fine to ask the question. We want to make sure that we have what we need to create some best management practices, you know?
Mhm.
And I will follow up with FERCog about that.
Yeah,
And see if they feel like not, it's kind of, well, it would be too late for the Rural Development Fund, of course, but you know, that if we're not going to be able to do any best management practices because we don't have the geomorphic study of the whole area, that's a real problem. I don't think it is. I think they've already identified that that was a good strategy I mean, a fine strategy for us to take. I'm surprised that this is coming up as an issue right now.
no, and I apologize.
Yeah,
I
no, that's
had
okay.
it somehow didn't notice that moving to Fishbrook and move the geomorphic study to Fishbrook only. So, at this point, well, talk to FERCog, see what they say again, please, just explicitly. And if we do need the geomorphological study in order to figure out where the interventions can occur effectively, then we'll do it back. And if they say, no, we don't, then let's move on.
Okay. So back to Mark's thing. Task Force General Recommendations. That was conclusions. I put that in the wrong place. Historically, Fisk Brook has been, you know, I actually think that Mark has a different version of this, because there isn't any place in this where it says this language of historically Fisk Brook has been.
Oh, thanks. I wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, that's an
We did have
earlier
that.
draft.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But in our recommendations, we should put something in here to address his concern that, and I'm not sure where that would be right now. I'm a little off.
Where it would go, or
Yeah. I don't mean to be redrafting this all in our meeting here. Maybe what I'll do is just throw it in here for right now to mention something about Fisk Brook. And if you guys are okay with it, I can redraft that and send it to you as language that we can vote on. Can we have a vote in email?
No.
No? Wait, who knows the rules on that?
You can't deliberate over email.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. Well, let me just put it in there as a placeholder and we'll move on and see whether maybe we'll come back to this. Okay. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now this other thing that Mark brings up is also something that's raised by the Lake Wyola Association. They appear in different places, but in the FERCog report, they say specifically, and I could tell you the page where they do that. It is right here on in this page between pages 48 and 52, where they talk about roads. And they say, based on what's known of the site, possible causes of increased erosion include lack of road maintenance and impacts of snow plowing, and also the use of gravel. It says here that the roads are surfaced with gravel and in many cases, a material of high content of sand. That's where that came from. FERCog's conclusion about gravel is found, you can see here, on 21 different pages of their report. So in Mark's comments, which I think we have to deal with, he says the material used for maintaining the roads is sand and gravel. Is just not true. So this was debated in the Lake Wyola comments too, you'll see. And I'm curious about how you think we should deal with this, because when we have not in FERCog in 21 places, FERCog also has a separate engineering firm that produced a memorandum. And on 2 pages of, and that's part of their report, on 2 pages of their report, it also mentions sand and gravel. So how do we as a task force, and we've done our old field walks and observed problems with sand and gravel road surfaces. So I'm wondering what you all think is the best way to approach this when we're using the analysis and the research of FERCog as our basis, not only in our field recommendations. How do you imagine that we ought to address these concerns?
I have a question on that.
Yeah,
Did FERCog ever write what they recommend on the roads?
well, they have a whole dirt road toolkit where, and Lake Wyola Association references that, and you'll see when I get to their recommendations that I thought that their suggestion was really good, and I've added that as something we might include in our draft, that we begin to use that as a guide. But yeah, they have a whole book about suggestions, and ways of dealing with dirt roads.
Okay, because most of the roads now are all just sand and dirt and gravel right now.
Well, so this is what's, I'm wondering how to approach this, because I do know that there was some change in materials, although who names materials what, I'm not sure. There was confusion for some of us that some things were being called hard pack, but you pick the stuff up in your hand and it just sprinkles through. It's not hard or packable even. But then there was a second round of material that was used, which was harder. But in any case, we have 2 places where this is proposed not to be the case, but then we have 2 formidable research bodies and authorities that say that it is sand and gravel for. So I'm seeking your advice about how we should handle that in our report.
Well, only for, I fill in holes where I can, and I find that even if you put in the holes that are there now, the hardest pack you can, all the dirt around it being loose already makes it useless.
Right, so that's even a different, that's a totally different issue, which hopefully we'll get to work with at some point. But this all has to do with 2 agencies' comments that the materials that are used are not gravel, and then 2 agencies that say it is gravel. And what does our task force want to do about that? I had suggested that we write something like, the task force concurs with FERCog findings that the majority of roads in proximity are gravel. We walked around, we saw them being, I mean, did we walk around and see that these roads were mostly sand and gravel?
All the
I
roads
think-
around the lake are sand and gravel.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
Right,
we sand them, but they're all sand and gravel.
but
right,
the one issue is that it is sand and gravel. At various points, it's been referred to as sand, which is a different thing entirely. And the only time that pure sand gets put down is in the winter when the town comes through and sands the roads. The
Right.
rest of the time, it is a sand and gravel mix. It is that gets put down. And I don't think the Lake Association has ever just put down sand. That there is sand on the roads, but that's the result of the erosion as much as anything else.
right.
And
So,
it's a glacial landscape there. It is all sand off the road. So anytime you get anything coming from any of the land, it's going to be carrying first maybe a little bit of silt and then sand.
So what I suggest, I mean, just for your reference, in the FERCog report on page 951 and 69, it refers to road surfaces. Then they have this memorandum from Comprehensive Environmental on page 3 and 6, where it mentions sand and gravel. And I'm thinking that we as a task force can be on solid footing if we say something like the task force concurs with FERCog findings that the majority of roads in close proximity are gravel. We could say sand and gravel. And then say, see attachment 10 for Lake Wyola's and FERCog's disagreement with this conclusion. And just leave it at that. We're not going to resolve that all in this report. We're trying to report on our findings.
Mhm.
Our findings show that these two research bodies, FERCog, this was FERCog up here. No, I can't change that, I guess. This was FERCog and this is CEI, have concluded and reported to DEP and everybody else that it's sand and gravel, and Lake Wyola and LWAC disagree. I feel fine that that's our report to the select board. I'm wondering what you guys think.
Could you show again how each of them worded their disagreement,
Yes.
please?
Let's see here. Sorry for all these screens being open, but I don't know how else to do
Yeah.
it. Okay, this was from LWAC, because I put LWACs in green.
What I'm curious is whether either of them used a different term. Because I
Well,
remember hard pack coming up in at least one of them, but
well, this one says material used for maintaining roads is mostly sand and gravel. This is what our report said. And
no, you're reading LWAC now, and so he said this is just not true, but he
Yeah, but-
didn't give a different
no, he didn't give anything
name
different.
for it. Okay,
No. Okay.
and
And then when it comes to Lake Wyola
yes,
Association,
please.
it says,
Oh,
two
okay.
assertions. The report cites FERCog saying, well, lack of road maintenance, we'll get to that. In addition, the draft report says the materials used are a mix of sand and stone. They don't want that said. They use hard pack, gravel, and trap rock. So that's the Lake Wyola Association's statement of what they use, and that differs from what is reported by FERCog. And I think it differs from what we've observed on our field walks too, which is why I'm saying.
Okay, can you go back to the LWAC one for a second?
Yes.
I don't understand the comment about abuse. I don't know what that refers to or how that's meant to be understood. Probably not worth the abuse that you will get if you try to change.
Yeah,
Change disagreement.
that's an editorial opinion. It's not relevant to me at all. What I'm trying to do is
Okay.
get comments. The select board will get all of these, they're unedited. But what goes into our report, that's what I'm after, right? Editorial
Mhm.
comments about stuff like that, it's just not relevant, I don't think. If it's relevant to us as a committee, we should say that, but I don't see how it's relevant.
It felt a little threatening. I wasn't pleased reading it.
Well, of course not.
Okay.
But, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time with that.
Yeah, I think I would go with your wording then, just that there's disagreement.
And I think, Jen, the reason Lake Wyola used different terminology is, and not that this is going to, make a huge difference, but all of our bills that we receive from where we order materials from are with those labels. So, we're not going to say something different than what we're paying for, I guess. Just to let you know, I know Bob Blanchette was very clear about that at a meeting, that we pay for hard pack, and that's how the bill comes in. So
Right.
I just
I
want
think
you
this
to
is-
know that that's
Yeah.
terminology given to us from the people supplying us with the materials.
Yeah, and I think that's worth researching, as we've pointed out a few times, that, what your vendors are calling hard pack, might not be hard pack.
What is hard pack?
I was reading about this before this meeting, and it's a mixture of gravel of different sizes, of fine particle dust. Some of it is clay material, some of it is crushed trap rock, but it all has a compression power which is more than sand and gravel or
Mhm.
gravel by itself. And when one load of material that came from a different vendor was delivered and the guys were laying it on Pine Drive, and they even said, whoa, this stuff is so much far superior than the other stuff that they were getting. And they were holding it in their hands and showing how it clumped. So, you know, I can't know what vendors tell anybody. But what I am wondering now is whether this should say sand and gravel, since that's predominantly what's said in the FERCog report.
So does a hard pack act as a surface that water can penetrate through it?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, it's not, yes, definitely. But it's a little bit, I can say for sure, because it was used at the top of Pine Drive, that it's much stronger and lasts a lot longer than the other material, but it's not, it also breaks down, it just breaks down slower.
I think the plows probably would help it out, helps it out a lot.
Probably.
I
That's
wouldn't,
another-
you have a quote here directly from the report, so I wouldn't add anything to,
Okay.
and sand is in 2 lines later.
Okay,
So,
that's a good point. And Bob, you
Yeah.
had your hand up a minute.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that yeah, the first week of geology class that you take at UMass or Amherst or wherever, you take a big pile of dirt and you put it on a set of sieves, and cobbles are a certain size. Gravel or pebble gravel is 2 inches down to 1/10 of an inch. Stuff smaller than that is sand. Stuff smaller than that is fines. And all of our roads that you go to anywhere around Lake Wyola, you will find sand and gravel. It's just, it's just a fact. So whether that came from the parent material that surrounds it, whether it was laid by sanding trucks during the wintertime, but our roads are made of sand and gravel. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so let's see if we could vote on this addition, because this is an addition to our original draft. So the way that we'll deal with it is stick with the FERCog findings, and also say that to view attachment 10 for Lake Wyola's and the LWAC's disagreement with this conclusion.
Jen, does this include the half of the statement that said the roads aren't maintained?
That comes in a different place.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're not voting on that. Okay.
So,
um,
okay.
I
Yes.
might put the bracketed statement after the word aggregate
Aggregate. Where
at
is
the end of
aggregate?
this, at the end of this sentence.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay.
And can you let us know what number this is, please, just for
Oh, yeah, this is number 1.
number
Under,
1? Okay,
under general conclusions.
thank you. Just to
Okay, so can we have a motion to vote on this as a change to the recommendations?
So moved.
What,
Any
can
s-
I still ask a question?
Yes,
And can we just, the conclusion we're getting to is that the road surface, when you walk over it, is a gravel and sand. Can it be clear that that's not what gets put down? That is the surface, sand, the roads get sanded, erosion takes place and puts sand on the road, but it's not what the association is putting down.
well,
I'm
here's the
asking for
thing. All
some
right,
way
well,
of-
this is what I want to try to clarify, because well, Charlene, and you're on the roads committee, Jim. Maybe you know, every time a load gets delivered of what gets put down, it's a different kind of material. So I don't know what they put down consistently, because we use that material all the time.
Mhm.
And depending on who's delivering it or who's ordered it, whether it comes from their contractor or whether it comes from which one of their contractors. It could be a different material. So I don't know. I don't feel confident. Maybe the Lake Wyola Association can say with confidence and consistency that they're putting down something different.
Well,
And I think
what I said I'm confident in too, that there's erosion taking place, washing sand onto the road, because that's what all the hills are made of.
right.
And that in the winter, the town comes through and dumps sand on the roads as well. So when you walk over the roads, yes, they're a mix of sand and gravel. That's it, but it's not what the association put down there.
Okay, and you're sure about that?
I want to
yes.
add to that too, because when the Lake Association, when we're filling the holes, we're not doing the entire road.
Right.
We're
No.
just doing spot areas on the road. So the road is always sand and gravel. We're just filling in the holes to protect that spot as long as we can. That's why unless you do the entire road every year, you probably get the consistency across the whole road. But because we just spot fill, which was I guess what the lake, what they do. That's why when they did the road probably on Pine, they did the entire road. So it all bound together because it was the same material, the entire width of it and the length of it.
This is an awkward
And I
way of saying
believe,
it.
and I
wouldn't-
believe all of our ordering goes through David Boron, and I don't think he changed vendors, but I would have to check on that.
Right, so these are all things, how about this? Does this satisfy everybody? I just underlined this. It's important to note that some of the sand and gravel on the roads is contributed by erosion and not by what is put down by LWA.
I don't think we know that. I don't agree with the second part of that sentence. It might be contributed to by what LWA puts down as well.
Okay.
What
So,
do you
and
mean by
we're-
that? What do
I
you
don't-
mean?
LWA has not given us a sample of all of the materials they use. I think we would need a person actually to study what they use materially. As has been said a few times now, it might be different materials each batch.
all right, let me ask this question because
I'd rather
we
just
have-
leave the original bracketed statement because all of that's in there in attachment 10.
That's
true too,
attachment
but
10.
I want to try to honor, I mean, Jim is on the roads committee and Charlene is on the board of the Lake Wyola Association. So I want to
And Joe
honor
talks
their,
with a lot of experience, so that.
well, but it's not so much about the experience. It's can you guys as representative of the Lake Wyola Association say with certainty that the materials that are on that the Lake Wyola Association is not putting sand and gravel on the roads?
I can say one thing, the material that they're putting down is different than the material that's on the roads. Because when I fill the holes in with the material that they get, it stays pretty well in the hole. But because all the material around it is still sand and gravel, it doesn't have anything to bind to.
Right. So
I
part
mean,
of that
that's
is
just my
problem.
take on it from filling the holes on my road. And I find that that's one of the things like that's makes it harder because you get one spot and it makes another hole somewhere else because that spot's harder than this spot.
And
I don't
the only time the Lake Wyola Association does an extensive amount of coverage on any road is when there's a major problem. And when there's a major problem, obviously it's more extensive area that has to be covered. But everybody that like Jim and Joe are absolutely correct. We do not get a whole truckload of material and then go down each road and layer it on top of it. We wouldn't, first of all, we wouldn't have the money for it. But second of all, it's just a matter of trying to fix the holes that are on all the different roads. And that's what the hard pack that's ordered is put in different locations on each side of the lake so that people can go access it and then fill in those potholes. But we never cover a whole road unless there's a major problem with that area, like a cave-in of something or whatever.
I have an idea that maybe will help this. So we have this paragraph here that's talking about, this is a general conclusion, stormwater and sediment. It travels to the lake from both town-owned paved roads and dirt roads. Some of these are owned by the association, others are privately owned, and they go directly also from lowland private properties. Okay. We have to ask ourselves right now, what's important for the select board to know about what our findings are? Because that's what this paragraph is really trying to do, right? It's trying to combine FERCog's observations and our own field observations and telling the select board something about the issues that we've discovered. So when it comes to what the road surface is, what's important for the select board to know? Originally, we said the task force concurs with the FERCog findings that the majority of roads are gravel, or in many cases surfaced with a material with a high content of sand and fine grained aggregate. Now, maybe that's not accurate anymore. Maybe that's not true anymore, that it's surfaced with a high content of sand or fine grained aggregate. But what do we want the select board to know about the surface of the roads? Tom?
How about something like the task force has been guided by the FERCog findings that, and not using the word concur.
Okay.
Maybe that's where the sticking point is, or, acknowledges even that FERCog's findings are that, and then the quote. And I would, because it is a quote, I would not suggest putting in the underlined sentence in there, because that's not.
No, I just put that in there to.
But I'm thinking maybe that's where the that might help. We're just relaying what they said, and we're using what surfaces, and we're not getting into why or how the surfaces have become what they are.
Right.
But observed, at the time FERCog observed them, they were mostly sand and gravel.
I think that's important. And I think that it's possible that association and LWAC disagreeing is because this is in 2025 and FERCog did their research in 2023 or 2024. It's possible that other materials are used. So if we let these statements stand and not try to arbitrate them right now, and the select board can look at the attachment and see how they disagree, and we'll take it from there in terms of what the next steps are that we have to work with.
Can I just try a minor change that would
Yeah,
help me?
yeah,
Where it says many cases surfaced with the material. Surfaced is kind of an active word. If we just say covered,
okay,
rather, surface kind of implies that somebody did it. And covered just is, this is when you walk over it, what you see. And I'd be more willing to accept this if it's that type of thing, because when it's surfaced by, it sounds like somebody put it there.
and how about, to honor Joe's comments too, can we say in many cases covered and or repaired in terms of what's put in these potholes?
Well, that's the higher quality stuff. That's
Okay, all right, that's fine then. All
And
right,
do
how does
we
that-
have it says the majority of roads in close proximity to Lake Wyola are gravel. But I haven't heard anybody say anything that roads are just gravel. Everybody's been saying gravel and sand. So
right,
shouldn't
but this is a quote. This is a quote from the report. So if I'm quoting it, which I
okay.
am, we better leave it at that. Yeah.
So
I think they say different things in different places.
Oh, so the quote, but we just changed the word concur to guided. Is that?
Oh, no, the quote doesn't starts here with the majority of roads are
Oh,
gravel.
I see. I see
Yeah.
what it's hard to see the quotes. Okay,
Okay.
gotcha.
It's covered.
All right. Is everyone happy now?
Only that covered isn't in the original quote, but surfaced was.
Yeah, where does the quote end?
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. It ends, but the whole paragraph is a quote.
It's on
Oh,
page
okay, all right, right, okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
But
Yeah.
you're
it's
right, we
12
can't,
of the watershed-based plan. Is
we
where,
can't change, yeah, he's right,
Doesn't
Jim,
have to
that
be
we
a
can't
quote.
really change the quote, but if we say we've been guided by FERCog's findings, here's where the quote starts.
Right.
So is that
Like, we could
adequate?
change it and not have a quotation mark.
All right, so you want to end the quotes here, add service, and then start the quotes again?
Um, using a quote creates the use of an authority, and I just disagree with that authority right now.
So
So to
you-
me, it's not convincing. One, the roads aren't gravel, so
Right.
that's just plain wrong. So why would we cite something that's wrong?
All right, so in other words, we are all disagreeing with FERCog's comments.
Well, I don't know about all of that.
Well, I mean, so this whole quote is FERCog's.
Right.
So if FERCog says, and their engineers in a separate report say surfaced with material that has this high if we disagree with all of this, then we don't concur with FERCog's findings. We might be guided by them, but this whole part that I've highlighted is their findings. So we could say we disagree with their findings,
Yeah.
but I don't know that we do totally. Bob?
No, I think what you've highlighted there is the truth. It is primarily a gravel road with fines and sand. You can see when water flows over it. So I think the engineers that took a look at the road got it right.
I mean, we could say something like, oh, and there's a couple of ways to do this. I could not use the FERCog quote, but I think it's a powerful quote. And we're not saying we concur, we're saying now we're guided. We could say we've been guided in part. We can say we've been guided by their findings, but also I mean, it just gets really clunky. So again,
My
what
sense, my
Eric,
sense is that everybody would agree with the, I could be wrong, I guess I could be wrong, but where it starts drainage infrastructure. I mean, everybody agrees with that
right,
that the significant source of sediment is, that's all part of it. So we could just start the quotes there and rewrite the first sentence so it's more to Jim's liking, for example. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say? Start the quotes there, and at the end, yeah, just start them there. The first paragraph, first sentence, make it not something that's a quote, but something that's
all right, how about if
indicative of.
it's something like this? I don't want to lose this necessarily, but FERCog's finding that, quote, drainage infrastructure within close proximity to the lake is largely non-existent. Stormwater mostly reaching through pipes, not outlets are known. And a series of formally constructed swales. Road erosion has been identified as some significant source of sediment contributed to the lake.
Yeah, that's good by me.
That works.
Does that work for everybody? Now, let me just put down here so we could see what's being lost.
When they talk about drainage infrastructure, are they talking about the culverts, that we don't have culverts around the lake?
Either not enough culverts, not the right sizes, not the right flow through culverts,
But it says
damaged culverts.
It says it's largely non-existent, which means we don't have them, and we do have them. So that,
Then we have to fight with FERCog.
that's a strong statement.
It is, and that's been I think as we went along in our field observations, we observed the same thing. We talked to homeowners like property owners like Sue Hoyle and Joe Gorey and others, and observed how water was draining but had no place logical to go.
Right, but what I would say is, and again, it's a quote, so we can't take it out, but it would have been better for FERCog to say drainage infrastructure within close proximity to the lake needs to be increased in, well, whatever the specifics are, the culverts, the pipes, the whatever, but to say they're not existent, if I were reading this and I never walked the lake, I would think we wouldn't have anything around the lake. And what you're saying, Jen, is that we need more of them, or we need larger pipes, or we need to revisit what's there already. And that's not saying that. It's saying something totally different. In my best,
Well,
unless I'm reading it wrong.
well, it's not saying it's completely non-existent. It's saying it's largely
Largely.
non-existent.
Right.
I would
Bob.
say that.
Bob's hand has been up for a while.
Yeah, so when I read that, I think of drainage infrastructure as being the sedimentation basins and things like that. So that's actually infrastructure separate from the culverts. It's a place for this stuff to settle. So that is what I would call a drainage structure or drainage infrastructure would be would be that. So I think that's what they meant when they wrote that. I granted it is a little bit misleading, but I do believe that is a correct statement that there are very few drainage structures that actually will trap sediment and sand.
Okay.
That's true.
That definitely is true. Like I said, it just struck me odd when I read it, but
When they wrote up the road, did they write up Window Road as part of the Lake Roads?
Yes, they did.
Because Window Road and that whole end, as we all know, when it gets the spring, the town puts trap rock down for you to drive over. I
Oh,
mean, they
yeah.
don't just put hard pack, they put actually stone.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a totally different process. Okay, well, hopefully if we get to this recommendation where we're doing a jointly prepared management plan, those kind of things will get coordinated, or we could have funding to get them
I'd
coordinated.
love to fill the holes with stone.
All right, so here we go. Task force has been guided by FERCog's findings that drainage infrastructure is largely non-existent, the stormwater mostly reaching the lake through pipes, etc. Road erosion has been identified as a potentially significant source of sediment contribution. Are we happy with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone not happy? Okay,
should you
yes.
put culverts in there somewhere as also or you don't want to include that as the infrastructure?
I want to stick with FERCog's quote.
Okay. Then I'm okay with it.
Okay, so let's have a vote on this change. So the only change that we're added, and this came up, I thought this was a valid, this was more informally between Charlene and I, and transferring the Lake Wyola Association's concern that some of these general conclusions weren't attributed to their sources. And I thought that that was fair and that we should attribute them to the sources. So here we say the task force has been guided by FERCog findings that, so it's FERCog and the task force that are involved in this one. You'll see this come up in some of the other changes. So let's have a motion to approve this.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, second, Tom? Jim?
Yes.
Charlene?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And me, Jennifer, I. Okay, so now this thing that we had in here before about their, sorry, I'm just going to highlight this. This is being removed. So we no longer need to refer to Lake Wyola or LWAC as being in disagreement with any finding, because we're not even mentioning the surface of what's used on the roads, okay? Everyone's good with that?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, then this number 2, this was again a suggestion about attribution. Based on a task force field walks and the conclusions of the FERCog plan, there is agreement that To reduce discharge, it's necessary to slow the flow of water from uphill locations and trace the flow to various discharge points. Everyone okay with that one?
Sounds great.
Okay, we'll do these all together, the attributions. Task force field walks confirm that sedimentation from storm runoff originating from town roads and properties on Locks Pound Road and Wendell Roads is complicated by the many dirt roads around Lake Wyola. The association has
Okay.
commented that it has limited ability, financial ability, etc. So this is just additions that attribute these confirmations or comments to their source. So there's no question of who's saying what.
Can you change rounds to roads?
Oh, yeah. Where does it say rounds?
Dirt rounds around the,
Oh, dirt rounds. Oh, I think Bob mentioned that once and I couldn't find it. I seem to not be able to spell either. Okay. So everyone okay with these attributions?
So for number 3, we're going to remove that last little bit because we're putting it somewhere else. Is that right?
Yes, let me just put another set of colors on here as an identification for myself. The only thing we're approving here, I can't use blue because that was the highway department. Are these attributions, so the ones that are in red.
And red is what you added, is that right?
Yeah, red are things that I've added based on various suggestions in conversations with Charlene about how the report didn't attribute the sources. Okay, everyone okay with this one?
Just a real picayune point
Yep,
on number 1.
yep.
Can we get rid of the word natural? Is a recipient of stormwater sediment,
Yep,
because
I'm happy with
it's a
that.
real estate issue. It's putting a grid on a hillside that's creating the problem.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna vote on, everyone's okay with all these attributions. Let's have a motion.
I'll move to accept the attributions as written.
Okay, any seconds?
Second,
And I'll vote, Jennifer says aye. Tom?
Aye.
Jim?
aye.
Charlene?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye. Aye.
Bob?
Hi.
Okay.
And Joe Salvador, aye.
Oh yeah, Joe, I don't see you there, sorry.
It's Kathy.
And Kathy.
Okay, so the Lake Wyola Association did not concur with this statement. This is again FERCog statement. Lack of road maintenance and the impacts from snow plowing are possible causes of the increase in erosion and sedimentation. I think that's true. I think Lake Wyola does maintain the roads. It might do an incomplete maintenance. They say later, there are financial limitations to their ability to maintain. But yet again, this is in the FERCog report. So is it fair to say, see Lake Wyola comments in attachment 10?
Well, lack of makes them sound like they're doing nothing.
It
Right.
does. But again, in other words, we're not even saying here that our task force agrees. Part of our charge was to look at the FERCog report and report on the salient aspects to the select board.
But again,
So-
I think including false statements, even if it's from FERCog, doesn't
Doesn't help.
So that there is road maintenance. I know that. I'm out there
You-
twice
you
a
do it.
year doing
So
things.
do you think that we should just, this isn't something to highlight from the report? If it's not true, we could just delete it.
You can put, I could live with limited.
Okay. Is everyone else okay with limited?
Sure.
And we could call it, well, let's call it limited. I think that's fair enough.
But I also think you should put annual. I mean, because we do it annually. I mean, it's
Yes.
not like we do it every 4 years or,
Yep, I think that's fair. And then, Lake Wyola Association has a longer description and they can refer to attachment 10 to see that.
I think it, only because they're going to be receiving 10 different documents, correct, Jen, when this is all done? And some people may be very diligent and read through all 10 carefully. So I think what is put in this first report as to what they see should really have the impact statements that I think we're looking for as a group. And I would love to see you add on that. It says to refer to whatever number 10 was, but I would love you to put in something about the financial investment by Lake Wyola,
Oh, that's going to be in there.
but they have to go to that section to
Oh, I
see.
see what you mean. Right. Okay.
But I think if you put it somewhere like, I don't know, I just feel there has been we've gone up, $4,000 or $5,000 a year some years on our roads budget, because roads are our key. They're the most important part of the Lake Wyola Association, in all honesty. I think 70% of our budget is roads. And we, by putting that, it says, well, go ahead and look. Well, what if people don't look? They'll never know how much money. And some of the projects have been significantly expensive, and we've done it and gone over our budget, and hope the next year we can get back to the zero, loss of money. But I would
I
feel
think
better
that's
saying
fair.
something about the financial. Please
Right.
refer to the financial investment Lake Wyola has given over the years, or
Well,
whatever.
let's look at this, because this is one of the general conclusions. And it says here, Lake Wyola is committed. This was your language last time, right?
Yep.
Lake Wyola is committed to working with the town and have made many capital improvements. Maybe we can use the dollar amount that's in there, or something that really highlights the significance of those capital improvements, rather than just say many capital improvements. Still refer them to this attachment.
Right, because that's where it's specific. But so somebody could just add up all the amounts, and then say over how many years that was, and that would be good. I like that.
Can I just ask a question? How many people percentage-wise are in the Lake Wyola Association that live at the lake? Just curious. We know?
Send out, we just talked about this. We send out 247 letters to people to become members. And as of our last meeting, we had about 130 plus members. The year before, we had 151. So we have about 100 people who live around the lake, and some of the people live on the lake, and they are not choosing to be members. And unfortunately, Eric, this is the nature of the beast. 50% of the people on the lake are helping to keep those roads the way they are. 50% are not. And it's a dilemma. I've asked about this, about, how does that work with other associations? If we were a homeowners association, that would be a whole different ball game. Everybody would have to belong to the association, but we're not a homeowners association. We're a nonprofit. So basically, we have 50% of the people really caring to put, our $150 dues every year toward the budget, which helps everybody, but we can't get everybody to join. And I don't know the reasons why people don't join. We even have a condition: if you can't financially meet it. We started that a few years ago, but only 2 or 3 people have taken advantage of that. And it's a sore subject, I'll be honest, Eric, because when people pay dues, they said they're tired of paying for the freeloaders, for lack of a better word. And what do you do about it? Nobody really.
Well, I mean, I'm sort of thinking about the other townspeople in town. We're going to say, looking down the road, like if we were to invest in money in the Lake Wyola roads, it would be like, or whatever we're doing here. I mean, people would be saying, well, I mean, I don't know, the same thing you're asking, that's all. I just
Yeah.
asked that question.
Well, it's a special interest
Yeah.
group of people, and
Yeah,
but the lake is owned by the town, so
right.
that's where the dilemma for you is.
Oh, I know,
where
I know,
those
I know.
people-
It's a very
Yeah.
complicated situation.
We're hoping that, I mean, so here's the fantasy, that we get this engineering study. The engineering study proposes mitigation measures, some of which will be items that are town specific, some will be association specific, and some will be joint. And the ones that are, and then we'll start pursuing funding for mitigation measures that can be used by a nonprofit, used in combination between a municipal government and a nonprofit. So we're not going to be raising money for these mitigation measures totally from dues.
Right, oh, no,
Mhm.
absolutely
Yeah.
not.
Oh,
But
oh,
that's the fantasy anyway. But here's what I'm proposing, Charlene.
Yeah.
Lake Wyola Association's committed to working with the town and has since 2020, that's what your report shows, made significant capital improvements totaling, and I'll add up the dollar amounts that you all have itemized here. There's the list. Would that address your concerns?
yes, that'd be great. And those
Okay.
are accurate numbers because I know Kate worked with Bob Blanchett and got those numbers specifically from the treasurer. So those are accurate.
Okay, so this voting on all these things is getting onerous. I guess we have to do that, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so a motion to approve this sentence as revised, providing I do my addition correctly. I'll do it 4 times. I'll add it up 4 different times.
just take the bigger one.
Yeah, right. Okay, a motion?
Move.
Section 5,
Yes.
I'll move for that. Or sorry, did somebody say that? I'll second it.
Second, okay. Eric,
Aye,
Jim,
Aye.
Charlene,
Aye.
Tom. Oh, here, Tom.
Aye.
Bob
Hi,
and Jennifer, aye. Okay, we're
And
almost done.
Joe,
Joe.
aye.
Joe, where are you, Kathy, Joe? I'm sorry. Don't see you there, okay. All right, so now this is pretty straightforward. The association asks that we add this as a recommendation. FERCog's Dirt Road Management Handbook recommends the municipal highway departments develop a designated area for storing sandy soil. Association would like to work with the town on this issue. Of course. Let's put that in there. Why not?
sure.
Okay. So I make a motion that we add this one. Any seconds?
Second.
Second,
Okay. Eric,
aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Charlene,
Aye.
Bob,
hi.
Joe,
Aye.
Wallace, aye, but where's Tom?
Aye.
Okay, good. Okay. So this was one that's also kind of tricky. Well, I'm going to replace the existing attachment 2 with the new one, which you've all seen. It's in the materials that I sent to you, but it's much more comprehensive. And then we have public education recommendations. And in there is this statement, which again is a FERCog statement. It appears in multiple places in the report, that there is an impact from boat wakes on sedimentation. Now, FERCog does say it deserves further study. Our report said education for all boat owners about the impact of boat wakes on sedimentation, lake depths, and vegetation growth. LWA doesn't like the idea of focusing on boat owners, and they want it just to be public, should be educated. The public in general should be educated about sedimentation, lake depths, etc. I will say personally that I think I think it's fair to not single out boat owners, but I think there is enough research on lakes in other states that shows that boat wakes themselves have a significant impact on sedimentation and configuration of lake bottoms, including a habitat study that was done for the town of Shutesbury in 2021 that identified the impact of boat wakes and boat motors on lake bottoms. I think it would be negligent not to include that, but I think we can make it more inclusive and more fair by saying something like this. We would change this to the recommendation to conduct additional research and facilitate education initiatives about the impact of boat wakes and other offshore activities on sedimentation, lake depth, and vegetation growth. I know for sure that Concom is interested in this offshore effects of sedimentation. I've seen it right on my shoreline. We have a different depth now at the water of maybe 3 inches because of accumulated sand. So-
I have the problem with beavers that have been eating all the trees around the edge, which causes the same thing. It loosens the banks up.
Right,
So I think all of what you're putting in here should be addressed in a whole separate study and not part of this study.
right. So that's why one of the ideas is to, well, we put this under public outreach and education, but that we should conduct additional research and facilitate education about the impact, not just of wakes, but other offshore activities. And I could put such as beaver activity. I don't think this, for me, just saying general education about sedimentation and lake depths, that's kind of repeating what we're already doing, right? Our whole recommendation is about effects of sedimentation, but most of what we've been talking about is offshore sedimentation. And here we're trying to address sedimentation that's coming from the water side, whether it's beavers or boats or any other. That's why I tried to open that up to let that be other offshore activities.
And my
Charlene,
take on it is that we didn't discuss this part of it in all our other walkarounds and stuff.
it's true.
And that's why I'm not comfortable with it. But because there's different parts. I know the COMCOM has been working with all of this. I know the boating committee has been working with different parts of this. But our committee, since I've been on it, we've never talked about that.
Good point. I think
So
we did
I would
talk
leave
about
it to the
though.
committees that are already working on it. But that's why I'm not comfortable with it.
Okay, so what do we do then? Well, Charlene, your hand is up while I try to locate this other
Yeah,
place.
and I know you've heard this from me, but I don't think anyone else on the committee has heard it. I've been reading about boat wakes because, you know, in all of the reports that we've seen through FERCog, it's negative, negative, negative. And I thought, certainly, if it's been so negative, 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 why are boats still allowed on lakes? Well, there are 2 reasons. One is aeration and one is circulation. What it says is the oxygen levels stay nearer the top of the water, and when boat motors go through areas of a lake, it actually pushes the oxygen down, which helps all the living things that are in the greater depths of that lake. And circulation, I know I was just talking to somebody 2 days ago. They cannot believe how much more growth they have of vegetation in front of their house. They've never had it like they have it now. There's like those green, I don't even know what they are, but you can't swim through it. You wouldn't want to swim through it. And people are wondering, why do we have more of that being seen around the lake? And this is a personal opinion. I think it's because we don't have as much boating activity that we've had for years, and maybe that's causing some of this. We have it in, like, by our house. There's no way you can swim through it, and what my point is that says wakes, but boats in general can have a positive effect on waterways as well as negative. But I don't think the FERCog report gives any justification for the positives. And I'm disappointed in that, because I'm one who believes in showing all sides of the coin and then making an informed decision. And I don't think that has been allowed with the boating part. And I do think, and I've said this to Jen in another discussion, that, you know, the boating situation is a very important thing to consider because of what the town just went through for the last year. So I just feel, I agree totally with Joe. We haven't had a lot of discussion on it, but yet it's an important recommendation that, you know, is going in a report. Now, I don't know if this is the place to put it. I would say no as well.
So let me just, okay, let me see. Okay, going to FERCog. So these are two places in the, we could ignore the FERCog report.
Mhm.
You know, I agree that this recommendation itself probably deserves to go in a recommendation of ours, not in the public education, because that implies that we've already studied things and now we're ready to educate the public. If we're saying we need to conduct additional research, it probably should go in the recommendation section. But here's a place in FERCog's report where they talk about impairments and pollution sources. Other possible sources include boat wakes. That's one place. The other is another place in boat wakes where more study is needed to clarify the role in streamline erosion. I don't think we could ignore this and just erase it. I also know, based on pond dynamics, and maybe Bob, you'd be a good source on this, is that one reason we have more plant material is that the bottom of the lake is getting shallower and shallower in certain places because of sedimentation, and the sun is now reaching the bottom there, which is allowing these plants to grow. Bob, is that not how, you know, pond dynamics work? Maybe we lost Bob.
It is part of nature's plan for every pond, as disappointing as it is, that eventually sediment comes in and the growth increases and it becomes eutrophic. That is natural. It's, you know, for recreational lakes like Lake Wyola, it's, you know, we're not happy about it, that the cove is filling in and other things like that. So and because the water is getting shallow, you're absolutely right. You've got that vegetation, that fresh sediment, plants grow on it, and it does start to choke out the pond for sure. I just wanted to kind of reiterate something that Charlene said, that the aeration is important for a lake. You might see ponds like I think maybe the campus pond has a fountain in it that constantly circulates to oxygenate the water. So that is absolutely true. It's something that boats do. I do think it is important, though, that we do include boat wakes in the document, because it is something that's mentioned in the FERCog documentation, and you know, perhaps there or perhaps somewhere else, but I think that is a conclusion that needs to be voiced in what we send on to the select board.
So in light of all of this, and there's still
1 second,
discussion open. No, I'm not moving on. I've
Go ahead.
just wanted to put this out there. Getting that out of public education and saying, for example, that one of our recommendations, so this is now under the section called Task Force Recommendations. Conduct additional research and facilitate subsequent initiatives about the impact of boat wakes and other offshore activities such as beaver activity on sedimentation, lake depths, and vegetation growth. And that just then becomes, it honors FERCog saying we need to study this more, but it doesn't bury it and ignore it or erase it altogether. So Jim, you had a comment.
I just wanted to say that really agree with Joe for this to kind of come up at the end without a lot of discussion beforehand. And include it. And as you said, it's in the FERCog report, so it is part of what's getting submitted. But I don't know about bringing it forward at this late date. I don't know enough about it. At this point of, because I haven't studied it, and saying it needs to be studied. I mean, there's any number of committees in the town that actually can take this up.
Okay. So I guess I'm trying to, we could take a vote on this. If what we're doing is saying, do we think, now, again, we're starting with FERCog has made a bunch of recommendations. Our task force hasn't visited the concept of offshore erosion. We've only looked, and we could say that, the task force hasn't done any field observations or anything like that, but it is mentioned in the FERCog report that more research is needed on this activity. That would be fair too. We're pointing it out as something that we believe is deserving of additional research, but we haven't done this research ourselves or included that in any of our work. That seems fair. But I guess the ultimate question is, do we think it's important to highlight for the select board that there are possibly offshore sources of sedimentation that need to be studied?
I guess I would say yes.
How about, it'd be nice to get a consensus, but Joe and Jim, do you feel like if we phrased it something like that, while the task force hasn't studied this directly, the FERCog report does mention this, and we're in support of doing additional research?
Can we just say the FERCog report mentions it? And because I'm a little hesitant, again, having not really discussed this much, saying that I support it. I can imagine that I would support it had I looked into it and knew something about it, but I'm, again,
Okay.
not.
So you wouldn't support, you couldn't, this is
I
fair, I'm
can
just
say
trying
that,
to get, could you support the idea that we need to do additional research or not even go that far?
I could support saying the FERCog report includes lake erosion and what's your phrase there?
Would go here then.
And that, and just leave it there. Just
So
FERCog
this is
mentions
now
it.
in the section that's called general conclusions. So the FERCog. FERCog report identifies the need for additional research about the impact of boat wakes and other offshore activities such as beaver activity on sedimentation, lake depths, and vegetation growth. They don't say anything about beaver activity, but
yeah.
And does that seem fair to you, Jim?
I could go with that.
How about you, Joe?
Yeah, I could go with that.
And Charlene, you were part of the Lake Wyola Association that had an issue with that. Can you go with that?
I'm going to say no, only because they honestly, the group was very concerned as to why it was highlighted in our task force report. I mean, why are we, what is the significance of making it a number 7? If it's already in the FERCog and people read it, they'll see it anyway. But to sort of pull it out of FERCog and make it jump at you by making sure they know about those boat wakes. Again, for lack of a better term, I just don't want to see any kind of agenda being promoted by our group. I've never been for that, and I don't want to see, I don't want to even think that that might be happening. So my concern is, why are we highlighting it when it's in the report and we're saying what Jim said, and Joe, we haven't discussed it, but
Right.
yet we're bringing it out in the open and making sure it's in that first look. And I think that's, I don't know why we're doing that, I guess.
Could
I'll
could you
comment.
could you put somewhere in there that FERCog has other recommendations and address it for people if they want to see some of the other recommendations, they'll read that part of that report in it instead of us addressing it, because we've never talked about it. I like what Charlene was talking about. I mean, I agree or don't agree, I just want to know more about it. And if people want to know, because FERCog is going to have, in the FERCog report, there's other things in there that are not going to be listed here too. So if they want to read the FERCog report, they can find that.
So I guess when I'm listening, I'm thinking back to our charge. I'm always trying to go back to what's our charge? And are we fulfilling our mission as defined by the select board? So we're called the Stormwater Erosion Task Force, right? We're not called the Lake Sedimentation Task Force. And maybe that's the point that Jim and Charlene and Joe have been trying to make, right? That we have been focused on onshore effects of sedimentation. That's fair.
Right.
But do we think as a task force, though that has been our focus, that it is important for the select board to, it is important for us to highlight that we're also becoming aware that other things besides stormwater erosion causes sedimentation, and to highlight that for the select board. Because if what we're trying to do is eventually come up with mitigation measures, there may be things that it won't be our rule necessarily, but it could be LWAC's rule or some other part of town government's role to deal with offshore sources of sedimentation. Do you understand the distinction that I'm trying to make here?
Yeah, what if we just took the concept of boat wakes out of this
Mhm.
whole thing? That seems to be, that's obviously the buzzword phrase or whatever. I mean, what if we just said that we understand there's a need for additional research on offshore sedimentation, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's, I don't know. Does that make sense?
It might.
I
How do
like that
people
one
feel
the
about
best.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, I could go with that.
Yeah,
Yes, because the ultimate goal is to educate everybody, as to how important it is to look for these conditions and prevent them from causing any kind of, damage to any of the waterways. So,
Because
well,
this,
that's why we put in, if you look back with our original statement, it's basically saying what was just written,
yeah, without the offshore part.
right? And we put the public, I think we had the public.
Yeah.
or something.
But here's, I think it's right to say that we wouldn't necessarily propose education before we've done the research. So I think this seems right. I mean, I think the impact of offshore sedimentation, lake depths, and because FERCog has also identified pollutions, phosphorus sources and fertilizer sources and other things, but those are all runoff.
Right. That's my point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would put an and in front of vegetation growth too.
Yes.
Just the way,
Okay.
just grammatically, I believe that's more correct.
It is more correct if it's spelled correctly, especially.
If my mother, the English teacher, were alive, she'd
Oh
tell
no,
me.
where is she? Let's get her over here.
She's no longer with us, but it's probably just as well when you're doing
It's
something
your
like
mother's English teacher. My goodness.
this. Yeah.
All right, so
No,
here we
my mother,
go.
the English teacher.
Tom,
Oh, thanks. Is it about the impact of offshore activities on or,
Yes.
okay.
Oops. Okay, can we vote on this? Number 7, here's the addition of number 7. It's being moved from the public education document and entirely doesn't
Is
exist.
activity spelled right there? I don't think it is.
No,
Many eyes.
Is at the end.
I'm going too fast.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, where is that public education? It's being eliminated from there.
Some of that English teacher rubbed off on you there, Eric. You picked that up right away.
Oh, I know, yeah, really.
All right, so here's the only place it appears, and this is how it appears. We ready? Okay, let's have a motion.
I'll motion it.
Second,
Okay, so we'll go in reverse order this time. Bob,
Aye.
Jim,
aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Charlene,
Aye.
Tom,
I,
and Wallace is aye. Okay, that's great. So other than, now we're already at 9 o'clock and we have this little language about Fisk Brook to do. I would really like to get this report approved for sending. But there's one more little bit here. We got the comments from the highway department. And this is in reference to the short-term maintenance and management recommendations. And this is the inclusion of the commission's wish to meet with either a highway department or Lake Wyola Association. And then the place in the report where it is, where Dave has provided all of his comments is in here. So the way that I did this was we had said in our short-term maintenance thing that items like assess ditches on Locks Pond Road, and we attributed that to the highway department. Review the west side, and we attributed that to the highway department. And then Dave responds to those directly. What are his comments about each of those? Same thing with, we said they should recommend methods to reduce the flow of water from the culverts at 333. He says this is his opinion on that. So I felt that was the best way of incorporating the highway department's comments on this short-term maintenance and recommendations. And I would put in C attachment 10 for their comments on items 1 through 7. The Lake Wyola Association didn't comment on any of their items, so I just put in, they haven't commented on items 7 to 11. Those are the ones that were attributed to them. Is that sufficient for you all?
Well, the one issue is number 7.
Yes.
I think the water bar has been raised on Great Pines following FERCog's noting that it would be necessary.
Is that a think or a certainty?
I'm certain.
Okay.
I've been involved in repairing it once, so that
Okay.
it's there.
Raised or lowered?
It was raised,
Raised, okay.
and there's a retention pond at the end of it, the lower end of it.
Right. Okay.
Can you just scroll down to 9 and 10? Because I'm trying to remember what was in the, okay, wait a minute. And I know I brought this up at the meeting, but it didn't seem to be anything of significance, but I'll just bring it up. I brought it up at the Lake Wyola meeting. The Laurels are private, South and North Laurel are private roads owned by, I believe, one family. And right now it's in discussion to be purchased by another family and then possibly given to the Lake Wyola Association, gifted to the Lake Wyola Association. So when you have that information in there about the North and South Laurels, like as of today, Lake Wyola Association does not own those roads. However, we have agreed to maintain them. And I know when there's been some need for some larger expense changes in that area. And Tom, you live in that area, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe different families pitch in money and they repair whatever is being discussed. So that's how that area has been handled, but they are technically not, right now, those roads are not owned by the Lake Wyola Association.
I understand. So that's why it says ownership issues complicated.
Yes, yes.
Is that adequate for you?
Yeah, I guess, yes, yes.
Okay.
But I don't know if well, there's no need to say that we've agreed to maintain them for the time being. But never mind, don't bother putting that in.
Okay. All right, so that, now the only thing we have left then, we do have this.
Oh, Jennifer, can you go back to that for 1 second?
Where was I then? Oh, that was number 9, right? Yeah.
Just a really small addition.
Yes.
And the yellow highlighted part, would you
Mhm.
put Conservation Commission the first time it says
Oh,
commission,
yeah.
identify it?
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, so we're all okay with number 9? Number 9.
Could you show it again? Okay.
Can we have a motion?
I move it.
I second. Bob,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Darlene,
Aye.
and Tom.
Madam
Okay.
Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to know if I'm the only one who got the number 9 joke.
I heard it.
No,
I know.
I got it.
Nobody laughed.
Yeah. All
I
right.
didn't, I missed it.
We got some old people. That's good.
Yeah, that's
Thank you,
right.
everybody.
Good.
Feel
Thank
better
you.
now.
Thank you. I'm glad it didn't go on deaf ears. Alrighty, so here's the problem now. It's already 9 o'clock. You guys are putting in a long hours. I don't know whether, advise me on how you wish to handle this addition of Mark Rivers' comments on Fiskbrook so that everybody can be happy with it without kind of wordsmithing it here. Should we meet one more time? Then we have to delay our report. I was really hoping to get our report to the select board. They're hoping to get a presentation from us. Probably it will end up being in September because the one meeting that they have in August is I'll be out of town that meeting. So we could, I could draft some language for the Fiskbrook part and we'd have a very short meeting just to address that. Like not wait a whole month to do it, but do it next week or something like that. I need,
Was
We
it
have
Clarity.
you-
We're talking about item 3. That
yeah, well, we're talking about incorporating Mark's
Item-
need
yeah.
about Fiskbrook and it probably has to go in certain places and I don't, I need to focus on it without all these colors and whatnot to get the language right so that it's clear where we're putting it. It's not as easy to move it around. So, I mean, we could have a quick additional meeting, next week or the week after, for example.
That would be hard to make.
Okay.
Do you think it's something we could just soldier through here, Madam
We
Chair?
could,
and make half an
yeah,
hour?
if you guys have the energy for
We're
it,
here,
sure.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get to that, then let me just cover a couple of important points. So I'm hoping we can approve this tonight. I will send it along with all the relevant attachments to the select board. We will have a presentation with them early September, probably. We also have this webinar that's coming up on August 12th, where a lot of information will be conveyed. I don't know how many of the select board would be planning to attend. Next Friday, next Sunday and Tuesday are these events that we're having, the outdoor, indoor, outdoor, hands-on activities event. And then on the 12th is the webinar. So we have some cool things set up for this August 10th event. We have the 2 stream and watershed dynamic tables. Bob is going to do something on water filtration. Weed Watchers is going to set up their own table and do their invasive plant identification as part of our whole environmental thing. FERCog is going to raffle off a book by a local author about native plants and natural landscaping. Ice cream. We're going to have ice cream, a field walk to observe drainage. And I hope we get a turnout. So I've been really trying to advertise it. And I know that Haley at the town administrator has been sending it around to the whole town of Shutesbury. Our elected officials have been invited. So I hope that that we'll get a good turnout. And then those of you who are volunteering, which I think is Bob and Tom, Joe. Charlene, are you going to be able to volunteer?
I'm
okay.
there. I also have a raffle prize that anybody who attends, I have a leftover raffle prize from the road race, and I already talked to the road race organizers, and they said use it wherever you want. So I'll bring it, and we can raffle it off.
Oh,
Not
that's great.
raffle it. We could just, for attending, you can get your name drawn, and you can get a $35
Yeah,
thing.
that's kind of what this this book would be too. Also, if your FERCog is bringing a big roll of paper and a bunch of markers and stuff, and they want to make a banner or a mural that says why I love Lake Wyola, and all the kids and anybody can write and draw things about what they love about Lake Wyola. So they're going to set that up at the bar, I guess.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Since I'm doing ice cream, I've been looking at ice creams, and I wanted to run this by the committee. Instead of digging out ice cream individually, how about ice cream sandwiches?
Perfect.
They're doing something simple because people are going to be wanting to walk around in it. And if they go outside to look at stuff, it's easier for them to grab. Plus, it's only an hour and a half. So
I'm all for ice cream. I'm all for ice cream sandwiches.
I figured it would be easier for somebody to grab. No, you don't need no cups or nothing. I checked on Rocky Road, but the problem is it's got nuts in it, and nut allergies is not a good thing.
Yeah, that's not a good
I didn't forget it.
No, that's true. Well, good. I was excited about that Rocky Road, but that's true.
May I quickly add to that, Joe, if it's okay for a second? I don't know the turnout we're gonna get, but like I can't eat dairy. I didn't know if maybe like Italian ice cups or something else as a supplement might be doable.
If you want one, I'll get you one.
It doesn't matter to me either way, honestly. I don't know if I'll even eat during the event, but I just thought of it now. Some people can't eat milk.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, maybe they have non-dairy ice cream too.
Yeah, I think they
They
do.
do,
I think
yeah.
I think the
I'll
ice
look.
cream
I'll look and see
social
what
has
they
a
got. I'll
little
get
sort of
an
it.
assortment.
Thanks.
All right. So those of you who are volunteering, if you can come at 9 or close to 9, I know Charlene's going to help open the hall at 9. Tamsin's going to come at 9. We'll set up some tables. And the people who are running the FERCog stream and watershed tables need some training. She's going to train you on those. We need to hook up to their water and electric and stuff like that. So if you can come as close to 9 or 9:30 as possible, that would be good. Those of you who are going to help out with the webinar, I think that's going to be Jim and myself and Tom possibly. If you want to, you don't have to, but I'm going to have a Zoom meeting with Tamsin on the Friday, the 8th, to look at, to just have a kind of a, not a whole dry run, but just to get all our ducks in a row. She's available anytime on the 8th up until 6 o'clock. So if either Jim or Tom can join us, that would be great, but I know you're busy and maybe not able to, but you could send me your available times. If you can do it Friday, send those to me separately and I'll communicate with you
Okay,
Okay.
great.
out of the meeting. Okay.
Good.
All right, so let's try and craft this language here.
What section of the document are we in now? Is it the attribute?
Yeah, he wants, see,
These
I
are
think,
recommendations. Okay.
well, but see, it doesn't correspond. So in this section, historically, Fisk Brook has been the largest source of sediment contamination. He is referring to something called item 3, but it could be this item 3, where it talks about how stormwater travels, and I think he wants the LWAC comment to be here. So we could simply pull this right out. Actually, it can all be part of the same. This is possible. You know, this is a different size, but what if it said something like what we said, and then historically Fisk Brook has been the largest source of sediment contamination. This section, oh, and then based on the geomorphic study, the report might need to be updated to address issues that study identified. I'm not sure how that relates really, but it could be something like based on the geomorphic study, there should be a section on Fisk Brook stating that BMPs should be implemented. I need help with trying to figure out how to incorporate Mark's comment here.
So all the green is Mark's comment.
That's right. We don't need this general recommendation. And I don't know what it means when it refers to this report. It's not our report, wouldn't be updated, but the geomorphic study should include best management practices, and those should be implemented as, but that kind of goes without saying, you know what I mean? Maybe it's just this. I'm just going to remove this for a minute. Historically, Fisk Brook has been the largest source of sediment contamination.
And that was from FERCog, correct?
No, this is a statement of Mark's.
Oh, of Mark's. Okay.
Yeah. And then he says, based on the geomorphic study, our report might need to be updated to address issues that, and of, you know, it's not that this report would be updated, is that any future work on stormwater erosion should include Fisk Brook. That's a
Are we
typo.
sure that's where it goes? It looks like it doesn't even fit into number 3.
I know, and then, but that's where he put it, item 3.
Yeah.
I mean, it does kind of fit in that this is talking about the sources of sedimentation, right?
Mhm. But if we have the study done, the geomorph, then it's going to be updated.
That's what that's what I thought too.
Um, you could just assert that, yes, it will be, the Z study will update, blah, blah, blah.
Does he mean maybe that other sources, major sources of sedimentation will be identified once this geomorphic study is done? Is that maybe what he's saying?
Oh, I think he's trying to make sure that Fisk Brook doesn't get lost.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's his main
But it is
objective.
mentioned here in 7, right? Fiskbrook.
Yes,
So does this include perhaps maybe what he's saying already, or
I think the. I
can you
think
not
his-
scroll 7 away for a second?
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay, I'm just trying to read it.
So he wants this based on the geomorphic study. I think maybe recommended BMPs should be implemented.
Yeah, I think that's
I
right.
think that's what he's after, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Recommended BMPs should be implemented. We don't need this item 3. So this would be a separate recommendation. This would, in essence, I've just stuck it in here, but it should probably go. It's number 12. Number 14. Historically, Fisk Brook has been the largest sort of sediment contamination based on the geomorphic study. BMPs recommended by that study should be implemented.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes,
How about something like where Fisk Brook has been identified as another source of sediment contamination, as opposed to the historically and the largest, because I just don't know that we've ever had that found.
yeah, I agree with that.
Well, the dam break, at least what I've heard, is what created it. So it
Right.
is an event rather than a slow process. So
I see.
So stick with what he put then. What did he say?
That the largest source.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know what that's based on.
Could just say a large source.
Yeah, that's what I think. That would be easier to support. The word source after large.
And I should just say BMPs are recommended by the geomorphic study should be implemented.
Right.
Geomorphic. Are we happy with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion, we accept that change.
Second,
that,
Let's have a vote. Bob Douglas,
Hi,
Jim Moore,
I
Joe Salvador.
Got you. I'm okay. Joe Salver, yeah.
All right, Charlene,
aye.
Tom, no one remembers their names anymore.
I
Tom, Eric,
Aye.
Wallace, I. Okay. So do we need once I make all these changes official and get rid of all the colors, do we need to see this one more time? We voted on each one individually. Are you all feeling comfortable with having me just make the changes we approved tonight and sending it on? Or do you feel like you want to see it one more time?
I would be comfortable leaving it in your skilled hands.
I'll make a motion to that.
Agreed.
Okay, okay, good. Let's do it. So,
You might
So
just want
whatever-
to send it out so people can identify typos if there are any typos. But that's all, the only reason to do it.
yeah, I know I do have a tendency to have typos, but
Well, everybody does.
yeah,
Now, are you going to send it to all the organizations too,
yes,
Jen? Okay,
yes. Okay, well, I will send it out to everybody for the purpose of typos with a little time limit of
Yeah,
please get back. And, you know, I guess, well, we have all those attachments too, but hopefully those have been vetted already. Okay, so we have the motion to that this will be converted to our final report and that will be sent out for editorial review of typos and grammatical issues. And after that, I have your approval to send it on to the select board and to the relevant organizations who helped to review it.
I think that's outstanding.
Okay, so Bob votes
Aye.
aye. Eric,
aye.
Charlene,
aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Wallace. Oh, aye. All right, so we might not have to meet again. At least not right now. I think there's a rule that for a committee to be disbanded, you have to have one kind of official disbanding meeting. I need to review that with Grace or Haley. And once I do, then I'll send around some possible dates to do that. It would be very brief if it's necessary and sort of our official waiting to see what our next iteration might be and how the select board might want to work with all of these findings.
Eric, can I ask you a question about this report? Will this have to in any way go before the town at a special town meeting for a vote? Or is this just something that's sort of gets hammered out by the select board?
My belief is that this was basically a committee appointed by the select board and this would just go to the select board. It's not to
Okay.
say that it couldn't be available at special town meeting. It's not anything secret about it, you know what I mean? It's not, so we could see it.
No, I just didn't know if things like that have to get approval at town meeting.
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I don't think this would.
And I expect that after the select board gets this report, and they've already asked that we do a kind of verbal presentation, that we will all, maybe we wouldn't disband, probably officially makes sense until we do that presentation, but we won't have a meeting in August. We'll probably have a presentation meeting to go over these findings sometime in September, and then we likely hear from the select board about what they think our next steps ought to be. And I know some of you have thrown in your hat to say, yeah, we're definitely in on whatever happens next, and others want to wait and see what happens with the engineering report. So
When are we supposed to find out about the grant again?
yeah, they say sometime in October.
Because that basically, no money, you don't get nothing done.
Right.
Right.
So we need to do some, I mean, one role that I think we would have, and I expect this is something that the select board might ask us, is what do you think should happen next? And I think starting to research additional funding sources, both for engineering in case the RDF doesn't come through, but also implementation funding would be an important next step.
Yeah, my guess is we'd want to get like Joe Comerford and people like that involved and seeing if there could be anything, if she knew of anything grant
Yeah.
wise coming down the road. She's
Yeah.
really good at that stuff.
I know, and that's why I was happy that Haley sent out an invitation for them to attend
Yeah,
the webinar certainly, and also the event on the weekend, which may or may not work for their schedules, but hopefully they could come to the webinar where they'll get a lot of stuff. And, you know, this is also, I don't know what the role they have in, other than the letters of support they've already written for our grant application.
right.
But
I don't know either.
these initiatives that we're doing with FERCog next week or 2 weeks from now are part of what our application says we're going to do. So the fact that we're already following up on that shows we have a track record and we're serious about it. So I wanted them to know about it.
Just for the record, I'm going to be out of town for that thing on the 12th, so I'm not
Yeah.
sitting here quiet, just hiding. I'm
No.
not going to be here.
You deserve to be out of town.
Yeah, really.
Tom?
About money, is it chipping in for the ice cream or anything? Because I can do that. I wasn't sure who's paying for all of that.
Yeah,
Or
I
is it-
volunteered to
Right.
chip in too. I think we're waiting to hear from Joe how that goes, but thank you, Tom, and I
Okay.
volunteered to chip in too.
Okay.
I'm all set.
Oh, good. All right, well then, I think for now, thank you for your hard work and thank you for putting up with me and any of my things that make it hard to
I
get.
think you did a good job.
Yeah, thank you
A
for
lot
your
better than
hard
I
work.
would have.
I've been on many town committees over the course of time. This has been a very good committee, I can tell you, and
Oh,
that's
good.
a lot to do with you, Jen. So I really think
Oh,
that
good.
that's
Keep it coming. Yeah, more and more.
yeah, all right. Keep going.
Your earphones are starting to get a little expanded.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
know.
No, I really appreciate everybody's input and everybody's ideas and just stick-to-itiveness. So I think I'm really proud of our work and I think it shows. You know, I think
Yeah.
we're producing a good,
I have a question,
yeah.
because you've been dealing with the grants and everything. If the Lake Wyola roads, if any of them were owned by the town, would be better for grants?
Well, there are a small slice of grants that are available to of these public grants that are available to nonprofit groups. There's a much larger percentage that are available to municipalities. Some are available for both municipalities and nonprofit groups.
Right, and I believe things like Chapter 90 funds, which the town gets every year,
Yeah,
as it's their sort of chunk from the state, can go really to any kind of road repairs. So
that are owned by, you mean, that are municipally owned roads?
Yeah, if
Yeah.
they're municipally owned roads, they could go to that. So the answer to Joe's question, yes, we could get more money, I think.
Well, it's something to keep in our mind.
Well, here's where I want to put number 15. Eric says the town should buy all the roads for $1. Didn't you
I
say that,
second
Eric?
that.
Was that, wait a minute. I think I must have been drunk. Really? Did I say that?
Oh, yeah, you did say that. Oh,
I second
No, I
that
said we
motion.
should think about it.
oh, yeah, you did. You did say we should think about
I
it.
never
We should
said
put
we
that
should
as a
do it.
recommendation. We
No,
should put that as a
That's why I wanted it to,
recommendation.
yeah, I want to put it there, number 15. Think
This
about
is
it.
how
that.
rumors start.
No, it's true. You did say think about it. That's corrected on a recorded line.
I mean, the one thing I would say this though, if we did do it, I mean, I am not advocating it. But if we did do it, I believe one of the problems is that we would have to bring a lot of the roads up to standards that are not. I'm not even sure it's even possible to do it on some of the roads there.
Yeah,
And I mean, I live on a dirt road. Believe me, I know that we have low standards, but I think there are still some standards with how wide the road has to be and blah blah blah. You know, there are things that have to happen.
right. Well, we need like the great grandfather clause.
Right. And then, if you accept the Lake Wyola roads, then you have to select all of, accept all the roads down on the Sumner Mountain side of town, and next thing you know, the town's got $250,000 worth of roads every year that's gonna fix every, it's just great, you know what I mean? It
Yeah,
just
that would
goes
be
down
great.
that road. I'm
I
not
know.
saying we shouldn't do it, but it's complicated.
Well, I'm not gonna list it here right now. That'll be phase 2.
Right. Put that in invisible ink.
Yeah, right.
I was gonna
Okay,
send you a
everybody.
magic marker.
Yeah, you need a magic marker for that deal.
So is this still being recorded?
Yep.
Yeah, it's recorded. I can stop my screen sharing. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Um,
everyone.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you on August
To
10th.
adjourn, if that's okay.
And thank you for everything again. And I will send that out for typos in the near future.
I'll second Tom's motion to adjourn.
Okay. Charlene,
I.
Wallace, I. Seifert,
Aye.
Eric,
Okay.
Jim,
Okay, too.
Bob,
Aye.
and Joe.
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned at, oh my God, 9:26. Well, we did it anyway. Okay.
Right.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Have a good
Good
night.
night, everyone.
Night.